This is your USMNT Abroad weekend update from April 24th to April 26th of 2026. Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV. And welcome to the US Men's National Team Abroad series, where every single Monday we update you on how the Yanks did abroad over the weekend. Now, listen, I know what I'm about to say doesn't really have much to do with the Americans abroad, but I'm going to do it anyway. We need to talk about Wrexham, because even though they're overly popular in the United States with the documentary, Ryan Reynolds being involved, I don't think enough people are talking about the fact that they have a legit shot on getting promoted to the Premier League this season. They're coming from 3 consecutive promotions in England ever since Ryan Reynolds and Rob took over. And listen, if they get promoted to the Premier League, which they might go to the playoffs of the EFL Championship to try to fight for a spot, if they get promoted, that will be 4 consecutive promotions all the way to the top division of England, which is the English Premier League, and they would become the first club in the history of the game to do so, which is quite remarkable. It makes me happy for them and sad at the same time, because imagine if we had promotion relegation here in the United States. The storylines, the investors, interest, just everything that it would change in the landscape of American soccer. But I don't want to talk about that because it's not going to happen right now. It's not realistic. It might never happen. Okay, now before we start, don't forget to drop a like in this video. Do it right now. Help us hit, let's say, 800 likes. That sounds kind of doable. And a random comment to rig the YouTube algorithm. Thank you very much. Let's roll the intro and start the recap. Okay, why don't we start with the Americans that play in Italy in the Serie A? The first one being Christian Pulisic from Milan and Weston McKennie from Juventus, because Milan and Juve clashed over the weekend. And on Sunday, Christian Pulisic started and played 61 minutes for Milan during their 0-0 draw with Juve. And listen, Pulisic had another, at best, quiet performance for Milan, and at worst, he was abysmal. Now, abysmal or terrible is probably an exaggeration, but let's put it this way. If you watched the entire game and you told me you don't remember Christian Pulisic playing, I would believe you, because it felt that way. He's scoreless in 2026 and the World Cup is fast approaching, so we can only hope we see a massive 180 when it comes this summer. Now, some of you are going to say, it's Allegri's system. He doesn't play well next to Rafael Leão. Sure. Those are all reasonable excuses, but he also didn't play well for the US Men's National Team in March. So being concerned is far more reasonable than any excuse right now. But let's hope he snaps this cold streak on time for the World Cup. As for Weston McKennie, he started and played the full 90 minutes for Juventus, mainly as a right wingback, and he was steady, reliable throughout the game. I would say McKennie actually had a good game within the role that he was given. He was solid defensively, and he provided good support on offense. And Yunus Musa, he plays on Monday, or shall I say, he sits on the bench this Monday. So if he plays, let me know in the comment section down below, because we record this on Sunday night. All right, next up we have the Americans that play in England. But before we talk about them, since we were talking about Italy, if you follow us on Instagram, you will have seen that we shared a video that they replaced the Iran flag in Seattle, the World Cup, right near the stadium, right, where the Seattle Sounders play, where we're going to have World Cup games. They replaced the Iran flag with Italy. Okay, now, there's no confirmation that Iran is out and that Italy is in, but that's just a strong rumor. And if you want to stay up to date with World Cup news, we can't really post everything on YouTube, right? Because not everything is worthy of a long video. So if you want to stay up to date, make sure to follow us on X and Instagram, okay? X and Instagram. We're going to put the handles right here. And it's a great way to support us as well. All right, now let's talk about the Americans in the Premier League, the first one being Chris Richards from Crystal Palace. And on Saturday, Richards started and played the full 90 minutes for Crystal Palace during their 3-1 loss to Liverpool. Now, Richards had somewhat of an easy opportunity to score early in the game. It was a wide open header from close range, but he headed it kind of awkwardly and it went over the crossbar. If he headed it down, it would have been a goal because the goalkeeper was beat. And the first goal that some people try to blame him, it wasn't really on him, because if you notice the play, the left back from Crystal Palace was keeping the forward, I think it was Isaac at the time, onside. So that goal, I don't blame Richards. He's actually not at fault for any of the goals they conceded. But his performance was kind of meh. He was losing most of his aerial duels. He wasted a good chance. He was meh. We've seen better performances from Chris Richards, okay? Next up, we have Anthony Robinson from Fulham. And on Saturday, A-Rob started off the bench and was subbed in the 81st minute for Fulham during their 1-0 win over Aston Villa. So Sessegnon started over A-Rob, and Sessegnon actually scored the game-winning goal for Fulham. A-Rob was subbed in because he got injured. It's unclear for how long Sessegnon will miss, right? How much time he will miss, sorry. But I would expect Anthony Robinson to start the next game, and he has come off the bench for the previous 2 matches. So it looks like A-Rob got benched. Maybe he has, maybe he hasn't, but next weekend he very likely will start for Fulham. Tyler Adams didn't have any games this weekend, so there's nothing to report there. And then last but not least, we have Brendan Aronson from Leeds because they played in the FA Cup semi-finals against Chelsea. And on Sunday, Aronson started and played 86 minutes for Leeds during their 1-0 loss to Chelsea in the FA Cup semi-finals, so Leeds, they are eliminated. Now, Aronson had a very good opportunity to score early in the game. He made a good run, and he received a through ball in a very good position to score, with a lot of time, a lot of space. And in the FA Cup semi-finals, you cannot waste those. And waste that opportunity, he did. Yeah, it was a very good goal-scoring opportunity that Aronson should have done better. He didn't. Sanchez made the save, and ultimately Chelsea defeated Leeds, and Leeds is out. So, in terms of his overall performance, he was, he worked hard, he tried, but he was very ineffective. And if he had scored that goal, maybe Leeds would have advanced. If I'm not mistaken, the game was 0-0 when he had that opportunity. Now we're going to go to Germany and talk about the Americans in the Bundesliga. And this video is brought to you by you, by hitting the like button right now. That's a great way to sponsor the video for free. So let's talk about the Americans in Germany. The first one being Malik Tillman from Leverkusen. And on Saturday, Tillman started off the bench and was subbed in the 61st minute for Leverkusen during their 2-1 win over Cologne. Now, Tillman has come off the bench for the past 5 games. And honestly, he didn't have a great season. He has 6 goals and just 1 assist in the Bundesliga, and then he has 2 goals in the Champions League, which is below what you would expect from someone that they paid 35 million euros, which is one of the biggest transfers in the club's history. But it's not just the goal contributions. His performances have been meh for the most part. And it's his first season there. I'll cut him some slack. We got to be patient. Like, he wasn't terrible also. Let's be honest. It's not like he's a flop, right? He can still bounce back. But I've seen rumors that like Liverpool wants to sign Tillman. Please, don't believe those rumors. They're fake. They're incredibly fake. They're not true. Because Leverkusen will not sell Tillman right now for less than 35 million euros. And I do not see any club after this season willing to pay 40, 45, or 50 million euros for Malik Tillman. Now, could they in the future? Maybe. This was his first season and he's still young. But he wasn't great, right? So that's all. With that said, let's move on. Let's talk about Joe Scally and Gio Reyna from Borussia Mönchengladbach. And on Saturday, Joe Scally started and played the full 90 minutes for Gladbach during their 0-0 draw with Wolfsburg. As for Gio Reyna, he came off the bench and played roughly 15 minutes. Last weekend, he got 20 minutes. And honestly, due to the US men's national team lack of quality in the playmaking role and attacking midfielder that can just simply pick a pass, I think Gio Reyna playing 15 to 20 minutes each weekend will be more than enough to get him a World Cup roster spot. And then after the summer ends, who knows? Maybe he'll go to MLS this summer. Maybe he'll go to MLS next summer. I don't know if he's going to stay in Europe for much longer. Noah Kai Banks, who cares until he commits to the US men's national team. But last but not least, we have great news. We're going to talk about Mathis Albert, the 16-year-old American winger that plays for Borussia Dortmund. He made his debut. And on Sunday, Albert started off the bench and was subbed in around the 88th minute for Dortmund during their 4-0 win over Freiburg. Now, Mathis Albert became the youngest American ever to play in the Bundesliga. Christian Pulisic held the record at some point when he made his debut at age 17 in 133 days. And then Gio Reyna broke that record when he made his debut at age 17 in 66 days. And then Mathis Albert broke the record from Gio Reyna by having his debut this weekend at age 16 and 340 days. And right now, Mathis Albert is our best prospect, right? Even ahead of Kevin Sullivan in terms of ceiling, in my opinion. And in terms of his performance this game, he was fine, right? He played 1 minute and then 5 minutes of added time for a total of 6. He had a nice touch, showed some flair. He didn't seem nervous at all, try to get in a cross. But he was on limited minutes, right? He played like 5 minutes. But it was encouraging to see that he was not nervous at all. And I do think next season, we might start to see him get substantial minutes off the bench. Like, let's say 20 to 30 minutes off the bench. I think that's very likely and very possible next season. Next up, we have the Americans that play in Spain in La Liga, the first one being Johnny Cardoso from Atletico Madrid. And on Saturday, Johnny started off the bench and was subbed in the 58th minute for Atletico Madrid during their 3-2 win over Atletico Bilbao. Now, Johnny replaced Pablo Barrios, the midfielder, due to injury. Johnny played well, and with the fact that Barrios got injured and Johnny is healthy, I fully expect Johnny to start against Arsenal this midweek in the Champions League semifinals, which that's a pretty big game. Yeah, and considering Arsenal's long history of choking, bottling everything, I would not be surprised if we have an American in the Champions League final this season, and his name would be Johnny Cardoso. Last but not least, in Spain, we have Alex Freeman from Villarreal. And on Sunday, Freeman started and played the full 90 minutes for Villarreal during their 2-1 win over Celta de Vigo, and this was actually his very first La Liga start. And I was half watching this game because it was at the same time as Milan and Juventus, and personally, I thought Freeman was quite good, especially on defense. He was steady on the ball as well. Not perfect on the ball, but on defense, he was very good. He also made a goal-saving tackle. Like, literally, this player was going to go on a 1v1 with the goalkeeper, and when he was going to get the shot off, Freeman had great reading of the game and recovery speed to block that shot. So, defensively, from what I saw, Freeman was, actually, I would say incredible, would be a fair assessment. On the ball, shaky a few times, but he was fine. It was his first start in La Liga. I would say, overall, it was very encouraging and very positive. He showed he can hang, in fact, in La Liga. Next up, we have the Americans that play in France in Ligue 1. The first one being Florin Balogun from Monaco and Marc Mackenzie from Toulouse, because Monaco and Toulouse clashed over the weekend. And on Saturday, Balogun started and played 83 minutes for Monaco during their 2-2 draw with Toulouse. And Balogun finally cooled off. He finally didn't score. He wasn't heavily involved in the game, I would say. He only had 15 touches throughout 83 minutes. Now, when he got the ball, he was dangerous. He did manage to draw 3 fouls. He had a nice nutmeg as well. But I don't really remember him having a single shot on target or even a shot on goal, to be honest. Monaco was mostly defending the lead in the second half, and counterattacks were kind of harmless. They were pretty much as harmless as C3PO. They were not a threat. And unfortunately, Florin Balogun's 8-game scoring streak in Ligue 1 came to an end. He wasn't bad, he just wasn't heavily involved. And I don't think this cool streak will last for... Well, it's not even a cool streak, right? This is the first game after he scored for 8 consecutive games. He'll probably score next weekend. As for Marc Mackenzie, he wasn't really at fault for any of the goals that Toulouse conceded, and I was actually quite impressed. I thought he was solid defensively throughout the game, and he looked very comfortable on the ball. He got a lot of touches, way more touches than Balogun. I really think that Mackenzie had a good game, in my opinion. Next up, we have Tim Weah from Olympique Marseille. And on Sunday, Weah started and played the full 90 minutes for Marseille during their 1-1 draw with Nice. I wasn't able to fully watch this game because Pulisic and McKennie were playing, Alex Freeman was playing. They were all playing at the same time, and I focused mainly on Villarreal and the Milan-Juve game. But I was checking a few times this game, and Weah helped create a few chances. Like, he should have ended this game with an assist. But overall, I can't really comment on his performance. The bits that I saw, he looked okay. Last but not least, in France, we have Tanner Tessman from Lyon. And on Saturday, Tessman started off the bench and was subbed in the 34th minute, which is very early for Lyon, during their 3-2 win over Auxerre. Now, Tessman was subbed in early because Magala, I believe that's his name, he got injured. It's unclear how much time he's going to miss, but very likely Tanner Tessman will start for Lyon next weekend. After France, we have the Americans that play in the Netherlands, more specifically the ones that play for PSV. Ricardo Pepi and Serginho Dest. Now, Serginho Dest is still injured, but he's expected to be back within the next 14 days. Hopefully, because the World Cup is getting very close. And we want him to get like at least 1 or 2 games with PSV before the World Cup arrives. But Ricardo Pepi, he did play. And he started. And with that start, he played 81 minutes for PSV during their 6-1 win over Zwolle. Okay, that's not a great opponent, but they're also not the worst one in the Eredivisie. And Ricardo Pepi scored a brace. He scored 2 goals off headers. His head game was incredible this game. And another American that actually plays for Bosnia, but he's American, he was born and raised in the United States, Esmir Bajraktarevic, he got 2 assists for both of Pepi's goals. He was the one that crossed for Pepi to score with his head, and Esmir actually scored a brace this game and got 2 assists. So I guess he's an American abroad, and we cover him, but he's not a USMNT player abroad because he chose to play for Bosnia. He actually sent Bosnia to the World Cup, right? He converted the penalty kick against Italy. Okay, we have reached the final section of this video. Hopefully by now you have already dropped a comment to help us with the YouTube algorithm and also a like in this video. So let's talk about the Americans in the EFL Championship, the second division of England. The first one being Haji Wright from Coventry. And on Sunday, Haji Wright started and played 71 minutes for Coventry during their 3-1 win over Wrexham. So Coventry is already promoted to the Premier League, so this game didn't really matter that much, but they won it anyway, so good for them. And the last player we're going to talk about is Aidan Morris from Middlesbrough, because Ajiman from Derby County, he's injured. We've talked about that. He had an Achilles injury and he's done for the season. So let's talk about Aidan Morris. And on Saturday, Aidan Morris started and played the full 90 minutes for Middlesbrough during their 5-1 win over Watford. With this win, they have locked in a spot in the EFL Championship promotion playoffs. Okay, so they would have to go to the playoffs so they can go to the Premier League. However, they could still have a shot on direct promotion as long as Ipswich gets no wins in their last 2 games. Okay? At the time of this recording, Ipswich still has 2 games. If they don't get any wins and then Middlesbrough wins their last game, they have a chance on making it to top 2. So most likely, Middlesbrough will not get direct promotion to the Premier League. They're going to have to go to the playoffs. Alright everyone, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like before you go. And if you made it this far in the video, I have a question for you. Does the 2026 World Cup feel a bit off? And the reason I'm saying this, you can let us know in the comment section down below, is because we have a video about that coming out on Wednesday or Thursday. So if you made it this far, you're a true fan, and let me know in the comment section if this World Cup feels a bit off, or it might just be an overreaction. Thank you very much for watching everyone, and have a great day.